listening to a Hope 1032 podcast.
I'm Colette Smart, and I'm a psychologist, a teacher, and your host on Raising Teens. I'm also a parent, and I'm in the middle of raising my own teens and young adult children. I know that raising teens can be fun and busy, but also terrifying and even lonely. I've experienced all of these emotions, sometimes in the same day. On this podcast, I'm joined by well-known experts, and we chat about some of the most common questions I get asked about raising teenagers in my own work, and even some questions I have myself. I have such hope for this generation of young people, so each episode is full of support and practical advice. I love seeing all your questions come in, so each season I focus on some that teachers, parents, and carers have raised. We're all caring for the teens we love so much, so please keep sending in your ideas and questions through my Instagram and Facebook page or via the Hope 1032 podcast webpage, so we can support this generation of teens together. So last week we had Dr. Michael Carr-Gregg on the pod, and he was talking with us about grandparents and teens. And one of the myths he highlighted is that grandparents don't know how to use technology. What I'm going to do in this mini episode is use a bit of poetic license and use that discussion on technology use for a chat today about location sharing apps. You'll see where the link with grandparents comes in a little bit later in the episode. But location sharing apps have been in the media again quite a lot lately. And whenever anyone brings up anything about tracking apps or location sharing apps and checking in on teens on an app, the conversation is bound to have quite opposing opinions. Some say they want to be able to check where their teens are and it gives them a bit of peace of mind. And then others say absolutely no way because their teens need autonomy, and when we were growing up, our parents never knew where we were, and it's just like bubble wrapping our kids. And I suppose that's true in the sense that our parents never knew where we were. I remember riding on my bicycle for hours and taking packets of dry jelly and tinned condensed milk and disappeared for the day. But our children don't live in the same time as we grew up in, and so we have to parent differently for a different time. But bubble wrapping, of course, is not the answer. So recently, there have been other articles citing experts who say using location sharing apps normalizes tracking or stalking and puts young people in danger of thinking it's okay to be tracked by a partner, and puts them at risk of controlling or emotional abuse by an intimate partner. I know that this will really alarm many parents because we just want to keep our children safe, but we don't mean to or want to use apps to control them. And so I think the conversation around location sharing apps isn't black and white. I should start by saying two things first. Many teens already share their locations with their friends on apps like Snapchat through Snap Maps, for example. Secondly, many families I know and those I talk to are already using location sharing apps like Find My with Apple and Life 360, which is a really popular one. And this is often during the time when children shift into being tweens and early adolescence. Most often, using apps like Life 360 in families is all about communication and safety. In fact, we use location sharing apps in our family. So there's my confession. This is where the link with grandparents comes in now. One of our elderly parents wasn't well recently, and so we began using Life 360 with that parent, one of our children's grandparents. And it gives them and us just peace of mind, really, when our parents are going out, because if something was to happen to them or they needed us in a hurry, we would be able to find them instantly. We have even set up Life 360 with alerts, so we even know when that parent leaves the home. And that is actually something that they are very much on board with and were open about and wanted to happen. This brings me back to our children. So, what are the benefits for using apps like Life 360 with teens, and how do we know when we need to stop using them? Because, of course, having a sense of freedom and independence, we know is such an important part of growing up, and it can be so hard for us as parents to let go. I know it's hard for me, and I often find it really difficult to juggle the responsibility of caring for my children and protecting them at age appropriate levels, and especially then also wanting them to grow in confidence and autonomy. And so, if you're thinking about using these apps, or maybe you already do, like me, I thought I would just share 4 things for you to consider and see if this fits with your family. Number 1, probably this sits as the foundation for any or all tech use in our homes already. So that is being open with our children. If you've listened to other episodes on the pod, you already know I am and always have been a proponent of parents having healthy boundaries around their children's media devices. And boundaries are always about love and support and age-appropriate safety. And on the contrary, secrecy and checking devices or spying on teens usually just breaks down trust. The episode on digital nutrition and internet gaming disorder in earlier seasons, I had experts talking about using online contracts with children and open, honest conversations about a healthy balance of sleep, exercise, schoolwork time, face-to-face socializing, and safe screen time use. Coming back to the location sharing apps, learning about healthy online use includes, but also extends well beyond apps like Life 360 or Find My or Snap Maps. If you decide to use a location sharing app, I think we need to sit down and discuss together with our children why something like Life 360 is being used and establish mutual agreements about when or how the app will be used and how it will benefit the family. So it should never be uploaded secretly. We should encourage open dialogue about feelings and concerns related to the app. And this can often help address any anxieties that might come up for our kids. No child likes to feel like they're being controlled by a parent. I know I didn't when I was young. The second point really leads on from the first, and that is letting our teens be part of the discussions around the pros and cons of using the app. I think it's important to start by reassuring our children that family use of the location apps doesn't imply mistrust, but rather reflects our commitment to their well-being and that we love them. Let our teens start with some of their concerns, validate their feelings and concerns about privacy, and then address any apprehension that they might have about being tracked. Again, we need to keep emphasizing mutual trust and mutual respect in the family. We could start by discussing mutual benefits of using the app. For example, a child can keep track of a parent because I think we can't expect to see where our children are but not allow them to do the same with us. I regularly tell my children and my husband to keep an eye on where I am on an app, especially when they've asked me to meet them in a designated meeting spot, say at a train station or something. And they can keep an eye out on when I've left home and when I'm almost there to pick them up. Other times, my children can jump on the app to see if I'm about to arrive at a sporting event or another activity. They also have the benefits of opening the app and seeing if I'm at a shopping center near where they are, and then they get to call me and ask if I can come past and give them a ride back home rather than them catching public transport. If they are used mutually and not in a way to control our children's behaviors, then our children will very much more likely not be as concerned about the app. Another benefit might be that your tween would like to go somewhere on their own that maybe you had initially been a little bit unsure about letting them go, or you felt like they weren't just quite ready with their age. So say catching a train or a bus with their friends to the city for the first time, and you agree, well, if you're using the app, I can just check in and see where you are and go off and have fun, and I'm not going to hound you and check in on you all the time. Again, if a parent can see where their teen is on a map, they might agree not to interrogate them about every small thing they do or every place that they go, and not check in on when they've arrived at the venue. And that can really be beneficial to teens who don't want their friends to think that their parents are calling them up all the time. The third point then is around modeling, and this is a short one. When we have healthy boundaries and habits with technology, including with location sharing apps like Life 360, it is so much to do with modeling. It's modeling healthy tech habits. I know this is something that I work on every day myself. I'm always wrestling with my own screen habits. And then the fourth one is agreeing to review and adjust use of the apps when it's needed. Reassessing at certain times of the year, for example, at a birthday or during July and December, if that works for your family, and decide if the apps are causing more harm than good. I think as parents, we know the signs of our children. We know when something is negatively impacting trust or autonomy or our child's mental well-being. It's so important to look for these signs because, of course, as I've said, bubble wrapping our children is not healthy for their growth and development. And if we overuse or overstep our privilege, even in the use of tracking apps, it just ends up backfiring. I know as my children got older in the high school years, I had to so often reassess my boundaries with screens and check what was reasonable and support them to develop their own self-control. But then also, again, that juggle of not recognizing that they're not yet adults. It's a constant juggle, isn't it? And I know I certainly don't get it right all the time. So looking for signs of increased tension or conflict around the privacy issues. For example, your child might begin expressing that you don't trust them or feeling a sense of resentment or invasion of privacy, particularly as they're getting older, It's very healthy for children to express these feelings and want some independence. But then, of course, we need to remind them to do it in respectful ways while encouraging open two-way conversations. Our older teens may begin voicing that discomfort when tracking or monitoring apps are on. And if they're asking for it to be disabled for a certain scenario, like a day out with friends, we need to be open and have conversations around the wisdom and why they might be requesting this. And then our much older teens and young adults don't need to still be part of the app. Some may choose to stay on the app because of the mutual benefit of knowing where their parents are. I've just been overseas with one of my young adult children, and it was really fantastic for each of us just to be able to open the app and see where the other one was when we weren't together at the same time. I want to end by emphasizing the importance of our teens being actively encouraged to talk about boundaries and being part of decision-making processes, particularly in things that make them uncomfortable. And that includes location sharing apps, but not only in that area. This is just one small aspect of teaching children the importance of mutual respect and open communication, because those are the foundations of healthy relationships. Thanks so much for joining me on this mini episode, and please let me know if you use location sharing apps in your family and which one is your favorite. If you found this episode helpful or gained some useful insight from it, please subscribe and review wherever you get your podcasts, and consider sharing it with your friends and family. I hope to see you next episode, but in the meantime, keep parenting with your teens' future adults in mind.
Hope 1032. Thanks for listening.